Just checking to see that all board trustees have come over to the meeting. I don't yet see Jody here. I know that the public has been waiting, and board trustees know to join this meeting at 5 o'clock. This is now resuming the board meeting that was initially opened this earlier at 4:30. We are meeting this evening to address personnel, an appointment, and we do have public comment at the beginning of this session. And I know that Janine has gathered 3 community members who would like to address the board with public comment. I want to remind community members that you must state if you're a resident of Hastings and to limit your comments to 3 minutes. If during the meeting, we only have 1 item on our agenda this evening, which is to address the personnel issue of appointment. But if there is a second public comment, if you would like to participate in the second public comment, please email Janine Genauer during the meeting. That's genauerj@hohschools.org. Janine, if you would like to call on the first public commenter, please.
The first person we have is Kate Janowski.
Good evening, I'm here. I want to thank you for the opportunity to address you again this evening regarding schools opening. I have tremendous respect for this board, the administration, and those who make up our extraordinary school district. We are all in this together, and even though we might not all agree on everything all the time, there's no finer group of people to all be in together with. So I have tremendous respect for this process and this group. I also want to add that the community forums that have been happening and continue to go on have been tremendously helpful, and I think the public really only sees 2% of the work. So we're just so grateful for all the amount of work that's going into this. I know if we're all losing sleep, you guys are definitely losing sleep, so thank you. My question or my comment would be that following the announcement of the decision for how schools will reopen, the virtual for 2 weeks, and then moving into the hybrid program, the district has also made it clear that the ultimate goal is to reopen the district schools full-time for all students returning to campus. So my question is, what are the specific benchmarks that must be satisfied in order to reach that ultimate goal? The state benchmarks are clear. What are the benchmarks here in this district? Is it a continued low infection rate? Is it try the hybrid for 2 months? Is it make X number of building changes? Is it 10 consecutive days where nobody refuses to wear a mask? Just wondering, what is it that we have to satisfy in order to get there? I share this ultimate goal for our children. I remain very positive that this goal is attainable. Here's the interim plan. What's our roadmap? What are the benchmarks to get there?
Thank you. Janine, if you can call on the next community member, I believe.
Right, is Alex Janowski?
Hi, yes. And I'll just dovetail on what my wife was saying. I'm also speaking to express my support for full-time in-person return to campus, as outlined in scenario 3 of the reopening plan. I wanted to state for the record that I and more than exactly 270 Hastings residents and parents have signed a simple, straightforward petition that is circulating amongst the community in support of this goal. And I think my understanding at this point is that the text and at least the interim list of signatories, at least 250, have been sent over to the board and the administration. The petition remains open, and really only took us about a little more than 24 hours to get that level of support. As Kate mentioned, appreciate all the hard work that the administration, especially, as well as the board, have put into conceiving of the reopening. It is clear from this morning's forums that the administration and the teachers are engaging in what I would describe as heroic efforts to make the best of the constraints inherent in the hybrid model. The reason I speak tonight and the reason I signed this petition is because I agree with the superintendent's recent statements that the ultimate goal here is, of course, to reopen fully with everybody back on campus. And I think it's vitally important that the board and the administration know that there is a groundswell of support in this village for that goal. And many of us are eager to work with all stakeholders to get there. I understand the immense pressure on the board and the administration, as well as the ever-changing regulatory landscape, that's coming down from the state. Nerves are frayed, emotions are high. I think knowing where the community stands here can only be helpful, as we kind of navigate this environment. So I think that's the point of this. While I appreciate, some of the responses that have been given to a number of people's questions as to kind of why all in-person cannot occur at the start of the year, I'm kind of, still looking for clarity on a few points. For one, my read of the social distancing guidance from the state is that masks or barriers or distance can be used. On the Hillside forum this morning, Superintendent Henning Piedmont mentioned that the district's understanding of this guidance is different. So, I guess just for the sake of transparency, it would be helpful to know why that's the case. Have there been changes to the guidance that the state presented that maybe we haven't seen or maybe we missed? Or has there been some kind of informal messaging or advice either from Albany or from legal counsel, et cetera, that we haven't been privy to? Secondly, I'll just say personally, I see the wisdom of a phased-in approach to build broader community and teacher support for everybody being present on campus. That said, I think, as Kate mentioned, many are frustrated by, the open-ended potential timeline here, given how fantastic the metrics currently are in Westchester in particular in terms of infection rates, and that it seems like, we more or less can hit the safety guidelines. I understand that there's, it wouldn't make sense to commit to an arbitrary timeline, but I think for transparency's sake, it would be helpful to know how we get there and what specific measures or metrics you're waiting for. I think we need to let the science continue to dictate our policy response to the pandemic, and clearly stated goals ensure that we are credibly doing that. Governor Cuomo said this morning that in an interview that if any state can open schools, it's us. So, let's get there.
Thank you.
We have, and I'm going to apologize in advance if I mispronounce the name, Ronit Sukanik. Okay, I have one comment that was emailed to me to read. Is that all right with the board if I read the comment that was emailed?
Yeah, so you were calling on Ronit Sukanik on the call. Are you on the meeting? No, why don't you go ahead and read the one comment you had mailed in, Janine?
Sure. This is from Sarah and Pietro Canetta. I am not able to attend the Board of Ed meeting, but would like to have the following comment read on behalf of myself and my husband, that's Sarah and Pietro. We wish to express our strong support for reopening Hillside Elementary as fully as possible this coming fall. We have supplied the rationale in a letter to the Board of Ed sent earlier in August. We base this on recommendations made by experts, example CDC, WHO, AAP, in the context of the current local status of pandemic and experiences of other countries with similar local situations. In brief, Hastings is at present in very good shape from the perspective of the pandemic and is not comparable to situations like Florida or Georgia. Hillside Elementary students are not academically or behaviorally comparable to high school or college students. Elementary students have the most to gain from in-person education, the most to lose from virtual learning, and are the lowest risk of complications from COVID-19, as well as spreading the illness. Virtual education also disproportionately harms the neediest students. We are not advocating for a return to normal. We recognize that in-person education will require changes to maximize safety and a robust set of protocols to handle potential infections and to determine when it may no longer be safe. These can be predefined and transparent. We recognize families can and should continue to be careful, limiting high-risk contacts, self-monitoring for potential symptoms, and engaging in socially responsible conduct. But with these considerations in mind, we respectfully ask that the district do the right and reasonable thing and move to reopen Hillside Elementary School.
Thank you for reading that, Janine. I don't see Ronit Sokanik on the call. She submitted that she'd be interested in public comment. Ronit, if Ronit joins the meeting, we will ask again at the second public comment. We can move on now to the purpose of our meeting, which is to address the personnel items A and B. If Dr. Henning Piedmont, would you like to speak regarding the appointment of Drew Wendell?
Sure. Thank you very much again, Board Trustees, for having this meeting this afternoon so that we can appoint Drew Wendell to the position of Director of Health, Physical Education, and Athletics as a result of the resignation of Jesse Merchant for the purposes of another position. The timeliness of this appointment allows Drew to be able to spend some time with Jesse Merchant before his final day, which is August 31st. After a thorough recruitment process where the position was posted and a number of resumes were selected and reviewed, and that review included the current Director of Physical Education, Health, and Athletics, Jesse Merchant. We were able to organize interview committees to interview 4 candidates for the position. The interview committee consisted of coaches, teachers, a member of the Buildings and Grounds team, parent representatives, student administrators, and myself, Melissa, and Maureen. And we are very pleased to recommend Andrew Wendell for the position of Director of Health, Physical Education, and Athletics. Mr. Wendell received his Bachelor of Science degree in Physical Education from the State University of New York at Cortland, a Master of Science degree in Health Education from the State University of New York at Cortland, and a Master of Science degree in Educational Administration from Pace University. Mr. Wendell's background and beliefs about children made him our choice for this very important position. Mr. Wendell has been a physical education teacher for 26 years, with 23 years spent in Hastings and 3 years in the Greenberg-Graham School District. He has also been a coach for 26 years and served as an athletic director here in Hastings from 2002 to 2008. Mr. Wendell is an impressive athlete who participates in competitive sports. He has received impressive awards for indoor and outdoor men's lacrosse. He plays and has played elite and masters level lacrosse teams, which include the 2014 World Games, where the team won a gold medal. The Southwest, which is where he was the leading goal scorer. Carytown Riders, where he was the lead goal leader. Team Toyota, Reebok, and CT Yankees, and many more teams and many more awards. Mr. Wendell loves teaching and working with students. This came through during the interview. He is committed to helping students transition back into physical education, health, and athletics with a focus on their social emotional wellness. Besides developing lifelong health and fitness habits, he believes that physical educators, health educators, and coaches teach students important life skills, including how to become good men and women. With that said, I think he'll be a fine Director of Health, Physical Education, and Athletics. And anyone who has spoken with Drew and met with Drew see that he is a warm, caring, and kind human being who will treat all of our students with respect and care, and will work collaboratively with teachers and coaches, health educators, physical educators, to build the best program possible and to continue the work that Jesse Merchant started. So without reservation, I am recommending to the Board of Education to appoint Andrew Wendell to the position of Director of Health, Physical Education, and Athletics.
Valerie, quick question. I think I know the answer, but just checking. This is a permanent appointment, not interim. Is that correct?
It is well, actually, Drew is taking a leave of absence from his current position as a physical educator and a health educator. And he, wants to see if this is a position that, will be something that he's comfortable in, since when he was in the role in 2002, it's certainly pretty different. It's also in a totally different line, as it's in the administrator's unit. When he held the position, he was a teacher in special assignment. So he wants to make sure that this is the right sort of decision for him, which we fully respect. And I fully support granting him the leave so that he has the opportunity to learn the role and determine whether or not this is a position that he would like to remain in for a while.
So this is a one-year appointment that we're approving?
This is a 1 year. It's a 1 year leave. And if he decides that by March, for example, that he would like to continue in the role, he'll let us know. And if not, he'll certainly give us that notice so that we could that we can repost and start the recruitment process over again.
And this was his request to try it for a year and see.
Indeed.
Okay. And we'll fill his position in the meantime for? We
will. After today's appointment, we can officially post for a leave replacement position as a physical educator. Mm-hmm. And have that person in place. And certainly as we are going into a remote learning model, we'll have some flexibility with not necessarily having to have someone right away, but we certainly believe that we'll have a candidate pool interested in a leave replacement position.
Thank you.
Are there any additional comments or questions from board members regarding the appointment or leave of absence, which are under personnel A and B? Is there a motion to approve the leave of absence and appointment of Mr. Wendell to Director of Health, Physical Education, and Athletics?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right. We're now moving on to the second public comment. Did Ronit Sokanik join the call?
Congratulations to Drew.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Congratulations. It doesn't appear that Ronit Sokanik has joined the call. Janine, has anyone else contacted you to participate in the second public comment?
No, not at this time.
I do know that there are some folks on the call. I thank you for joining us. As you can see, the agenda today was a very condensed agenda to address this appointment. The Board of Education will have another meeting next week. Are there any board comments at this time?
I'm just wondering if, because so many people remained who spoke, if you want to tell them again where to find the answers to their questions.
I'm sorry, Allison, are you suggesting the district has posted an FAQ regarding school reopening, and that continues and will continue to be updated to include responses to questions that come up regarding school reopening, questions that come up at our board meetings as well. I attended 2 of the 3 of the school forums today, and at both of those forums, the school principals recommended questions regarding their particular schools be addressed to the school principals. Those are other resources that folks could reach out to in lieu of the Board of Education. Is that what you're suggesting, Allison?
Yes, and I think, if there's anything that's not there in terms of how the process of getting to a full reopening, maybe we'll be answering those questions in more detail if needed and posting those also.
Yes, and we actually decided on a Hastings board brief, which is another opportunity for the board to have some of the questions that come from our board meetings answered at the end of the week. So that's also another opportunity for feedback and for response.
Yes, that will be forthcoming. The board brief will be sent out as part of regular communication in the coming weeks and then routinely sent out. So that is something that the district is working on. Are there any additional Board of Education comments?
Before he heads out, I just wanted to say to Mr. Merchant, because I know he's still with us for a few more weeks, that I've had the pleasure of working with him on different committees over the years that my kids have been in school. And I just wanted to attest to the fact that he's humble, he's responsive, and he's a genuine person. And we really have benefited as an educator to have somebody who's a product of our Hastings community and our Hastings schools. And we really appreciate the positive impact you've made in the time that you were with us. And we're so looking forward to having Mr. Wendell take over this role as well. So I just wanted to acknowledge that for those who are leaving us and who've left us in a great place, and for those who are joining us to lead us into a different era. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. I want to piggyback on that, and I see that you're at the meeting, Jesse, and I just also want to thank you again for everything that you've given. My kids have had you too, and had, I think, more as a teacher maybe, but I think you've given your heart and your soul to this district, and I think you're a great educator with kids, and you really get it about sports and athletics, and I think you give 150% to kids, and I know the people where you're going to be working are going to be very fortunate to have you, and I'm glad that Drew will be stepping in, but I am very sad to see you leave, but also wishing you the best. And I know you're here till the end of the month, but I hope you'll take a little bit of a break before you transition. Much needed. So thank you.
As stated earlier, Jesse was deeply involved in helping to examine the resumes and choose candidates that the committee would review and consider for the position. So he's really been an exceptional leader with regards to just the transition from his role into his new role, and just making sure that the district is in really good shape with regards to having this pretty important role replaced at this point in time. So I want to thank you, Jesse, for not only that, but all the great work that you've done. I'll miss your calmness and your professionalism, and I know that you'll do wonderful work in the role in Section 1, and I'm sure we'll see you and we'll be calling upon you. But I want to thank you for being a terrific educator and a terrific leader.
Yes, I'd like to add, definitely we have a short agenda tonight, so thank you to Jesse, congratulations to Drew. And if I could speak to the public comment section, the board rarely responds, and we don't always have the answers, but thank you for coming out and voicing your opinions. Personally, it sounds like the these are things that if we keep bringing it back up in September and October, there might be more clarity to answers, as I think a lot of people in this town share the ultimate goal that Valerie wrote about. And I think we've mentioned before that we will be reevaluating as the facts change in September and October. Please stay as involved as you feel is appropriate, because the board does appreciate the residents' participation. Congratulations, Drew.
Is there a motion to adjourn the Board of Education meeting?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, everyone. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Good weekend, everybody.
You as well. Take care.